secondary perspective, staying on top of pass plays is usually your goal. And Saturday was almost a little different. The long pass plays they had generally were 7-yard receptions that turned in
Right.
to
Yards
big
after
receptions.
catch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So talk about the lessons that are learned from Saturday, the things that you guys can take away and apply to this week. UMass is a team, just looking at them statistically, their run pass play calls are about 50-50. Yet the yardage is about 2-to-1 pass to run. So clearly that's the way they have been playing offensively, and that's where they appear to be more dangerous. So what went on with Coastal on Saturday that you apply going forward, and then what have you seen of the way UMass likes to attack you through the air?
Yeah, the big thing is, it's all about your eye control, and it's about angles, and it's about tackling. It's not anytime you have yards after catch, a lot of it is either attributed to a poor angle or a missed tackle, and a lot of times the poor angles contribute to the missed tackle. So that's the big thing, is just understanding angles and where their eyes need to be. As you're driving on routes, whether you're a linebacker or a secondary player, it's all about where your eyes are and matching those angles, and then doing a great job of tackling, getting guys on the ground. So,
in terms of UMass and what you've been able to observe so far, what is the particular threat or threats that they present offensively?
they've got a tight end that's a big target that catches the ball well. Not necessarily a speed threat, but just a big target, almost like a power forward type guy that can use his body and box you out, even if you're a linebacker. And then they've got one or two wideouts that can stretch the field vertical, but then they also have some make you miss ability underneath, with their under routes and their option stuff underneath. So similar to Coastal in a sense that, you got to do a good job underneath, not letting a 7-yard catch turn into a 70-yard touchdown or whatever. But they've got some offensive weapons, quarterbacks. They started a new guy this past week, but, both are talented. One runs a little better than the other. But, the guy that's been starting's got a strong arm, got an accurate arm. He looks like a pretty heads-up guy. I mean, you can see him on film go through progressions. So when you take one route away, he's headsy enough to work through a progression as far as, what he's been taught. Here's your reads, 1, 2, 3. So getting a little pressure on him will be a key, because anytime you go through that type of progression and you go from 1 to 2 to 3, then at some point pressure's got to become a factor.
And that has been an issue for them this season. They are next to last in FBS right now in sacks allowed. And App, I think, is sitting around 20th nationally in creating sacks. So I think you're right. Something's got to give there. In terms of your ability to kind of go into the coverage packages you need, you're still missing Josh Thomas. I presume that's going to be the case going forward still for a while. Caden Smith is probably just now getting back to being healthy, and then Tay and Clifton have been very steady at the corners for you. Are you still able to kind of do what you want to do from a coverage perspective? I know that when you guys go nickel, I know it's easy. I won't say it's not necessarily easy. You're privileged to have A.J. Howard that you can kind of move down into that quasi anchor role, and then you can bring Exford and Des Franklin in at the safeties, and you can do some stuff there. I know you also occasionally like to roll into to a dime package when the down and distance call for it. Is that something that you're able to do right now with the guys you've got available?
Yeah. Yeah, we feel good about our dime package. The challenge that Coastal presented a little bit last week was even on third down on film coming in, they'd still run the triple option. So, at what point do you feel like you can get in the dime package and expect pass versus get in dime package and be able to hold up and run? So, now the good thing is whether it's AJ or X for dime,
Flash flood.
Whether you put Exford down or put AJ down, both of those are good run fitters in the box. So we felt like we were good enough, and we practiced against the option with a dime package in, because we knew at some point, hey, we get into the dime, then there's a good chance that we got to hold up versus the option, and we did. That wasn't the nemesis in the dime package. I thought the dime package played well this week.
So given that the answer is yeah, I can and will go dime, is this week against UMass a better opportunity to use it relative to their threat with the run game?
Could be. I haven't watched any of the run game yet. Usually Mondays we stay separate, and Coach Brown and I, we grind out all the pass game stuff. Coach Jones grinds through all the run game. Coach Ivy grinds through all the pass protections and trying to decipher how they're protecting, and how they're utilizing the back or not utilizing the back. And then Woody usually watches whole games from start to finish, and then we bring it all together, and everybody kind of presents their piece of the puzzle, and then we figure out, okay, how do we make this puzzle work based on this is what we see, this is what Ivy sees in pass protection, how do we attack them to get pressure? Dale, how do we stop the run? Do we need an extra guy in the box, or can we play a deep safety and still be good in the run? And then Woody kind of talks about the flow of the game, based on the, first quarter, second quarter, up in score, behind in score, turnovers, is, whatever. So he looks at it situationally from start to finish, whole game wise.
You mentioned the normal starter forward at quarterback, smart player. One of the things that jumped off the page at me is as much as they throw the ball, and it's a fair amount, I think he's thrown 2 interceptions all year. Mm-hmm. They're not a team that turns the ball over through the air.
Right.
And that is something you guys have been pretty exceptional at this year.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly is not just creating turnovers, but creating interceptions. Is that the immovable object? The force coming at it. I mean, that something you would think potentially has to give there. I know you take no interceptions and no touchdowns. That'd probably be a reasonable trade-off for you. But
yeah,
you'd probably like to turn the ball around on them a couple of times too, if you could. Do you have to kind of preach some patience to your guys? Hey, this isn't a guy that's going to throw up 50-50 balls necessarily on you. He's going to make some pretty well-decisioned throws here. You're going to have to really be disciplined and not trying to go for something that's not there, because this is a guy who doesn't throw those many.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And it's a lot like when we played New Mexico State, and they came in with only throwing 5 interceptions and 240-something attempts, and and we were able to make some big plays in that game with interceptions. So I'd love to have that same type of outcome with a guy that's been very proficient in his passing game and be able to get some takeaways. But at the end of the day, you can't sacrifice gambling on an interception. I mean, you got to know, and I think instinctive players know. I mean, that's why guys, you look at some players who have a lot more than others. A lot of it comes down to instincts. Guys that just have a instinctive feel for when to jump a route or when to undercut a route or whatever. And whether it comes from film study or just their instincts from seeing it at practice, when we run those routes on with the scout team or what. But certainly you don't want to gamble, just trying to gamble and be a hero and give up, completions that go for big plays. So I think there's that give and take of being smart, but then also being aggressive enough and knowing that we got to contest balls. We can't just sit back and try to lead the team in tackles after they catch the ball.
Good deal.